Taylor and welcome back to another episode of Bull or Brill by Cyber Guys. I'm joined again by Brandon. How are you?
Great, thanks Taylor.
Before we get into today's podcast, there was some breaking news that came out this morning that a Chinese government allegedly backed hacking group has been accused of cyber espionage.
Look, that really doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
Countries like China, North Korea, Russia, all the ones that the world doesn't like, have a very long history of coming after Western intellectual property. So it really doesn't surprise me.
And what does that mean for us though?
Well, what it means is that if you're an enterprise that innovates, creates something, your intellectual property could be at risk.
I saw that they had also targeted not just private entities but also the Australian government as well, which is not great.
No, that's not great. And I guess that sort of thing is the wake-up call that people really need to start taking action. Because if the Australian government doesn't even have the tools to repel a nation-state attack, what chance does a small business that's innovating have against these sort of attacks? So it's high time that people really take their cybersecurity seriously. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, today we're going to be discussing everything data loss prevention, disaster recovery, everything like that. So shall we get into it?
Great.
Well, I have some statistics to start us off. And so according to a study conducted by the University of Texas, 94% of companies who fail to survive a catastrophic data loss, of that, 43% will never reopen, and then 51% will shut within 2 years.
Again, that really doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
When we deal with digital disasters, you're really dealing with the entire business.
Yeah.
So for instance, you may be a manufacturing business. So you have these core stock items in stock.
Yeah.
But if you don't know who your customers are, if you don't have an ordering system in place, what chance do you have to recover?
Yeah.
One of the most common themes that I see in my job is that people view IT as another expense.
Yeah.
They don't see it as the core of their business.
Yeah.
And we really need a mindset shift, not only in this country, but other Western nations as well, to move beyond the notion that IT is just another expense.
Yeah.
Without IT, you don't have a business in this economy.
Cisco came out and said that 70% of Australian businesses will suffer some form of data loss as well.
Absolutely.
Which is just, you need to get onto it.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of these companies can avoid this sort of catastrophic disaster with just some good IT management.
Okay. Well, hopefully we have some myths here that we can bust that can help people out.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
First off, we have backups, so we're completely safe.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's good that you have a backup.
Yeah.
But when was the last time you checked it? When was the last time you reviewed its ability to be recovered?
I don't think I ever have.
Yeah, and you're not alone with a lot of small businesses. People say they have backups.
Yeah.
But if you don't test those backups, if you don't check those backups, you might as well not have a backup.
Yeah.
Because backups do fail every now and then. And if they have a pattern of failing, and you have a disaster, so that could be flood, fire, theft, or just the data gone for any unexplained reason. If you don't have a backup both of cloud and local data, you're in tremendous risk.
I hear you mention 3-2-1 a lot when it comes to backup. Can you just explain what that means?
Absolutely. So the 3-2-1 backup principle is a data security mechanism I actually learned in my first year of cybersecurity.
Okay.
So the principle is you have 3 copies of your data in 2 separate locations with 1 offsite.
Okay. That's cool. That seems easy enough. Manageable for any small business, really.
That's right. And if your IT person is doing it correctly, they will check your backups for you. And if they don't, maybe consider finding a new IT guy, because this stuff is really serious.
Yeah, of course.
You cannot neglect your backups. Things go wrong.
Yeah, not with those statistics as well before about the amount of businesses that just either never come back or shut within 2 years. Like, why would you risk that if you can avoid it?
Exactly. Yeah. A good backup regime for a small to medium enterprise costs less than $1,000.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can pay $1,000 now, or you can lose your business. some unknown time.
Exactly.
So that one is, it depends.
Okay. We can't really half shred it, so would you actually shred it or not?
Shred it.
Okay. I think the bull's a bit hungry after last week anyway.
That's right.
Just before we get into the next one, speaking of last week, we did sit down with Linda from Advisory. She came into the studio and had a good chat. That was really insightful.
Absolutely. Linda's a really inspiring lady. She is phenomenal at what she does. So, people out there, give her a call.
Hopefully, if you haven't seen last week's episode, go back and watch it. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we can quickly switch to a manual process.
You may have a manual process, but manual processes can only go so far.
Sure.
There's a reason we switched to computers. It's because paper doesn't always work.
Yeah.
It's good that you have an offline procedure, and as part of my suite of services, I offer business continuity to ensure that people can switch to a form of manual process. But in this economy, you can't compete on manual processes.
Yeah. Okay. But could you do it quickly? Switch?
It depends on the type of business,
Sure.
really. If you're an old school company that still operates on paper, potentially.
Okay.
But with that being said, people don't fax in orders anymore. People don't do anything really paper-based in this economy.
Sure.
So you're really doing yourself a disservice
Yeah.
by saying, she'll be right, we'll just switch to manual.
Okay.
And that's not considering the fact that if you have a cyber attack,
Yeah.
your manual processes aren't going to do you any good because your reputation's in the shitter.
Okay. All right, we'll put that one through the shredder then.
Yeah.
Next up, we have our IT team can handle any crisis.
I have no doubt that there are some really good IT teams out there.
Yeah.
I lead a very, very good IT team as well. Terranet, give me a call. There are IT companies out there that are really, really good.
Yeah.
But we're talking about humans here.
Sure.
Humans make mistakes. And sometimes a little unintentional mistake can have really dire consequences. Like if an IT guy, for instance, forgets to install a critical vulnerability update. The power of, what's that concept? Where you see things so many times, you miss things?
Yeah, just like refrigerator syndrome is what it's called. It's like when it's right in front of you, but you can't see around it.
Oh, I see how it is.
It's actually a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, really. You can stare at something for years and years and years and miss the most obvious things.
Yeah.
So IT teams are fantastic,
Sure.
generally.
Yeah.
There's some really dodgy ones out there, but on the whole, IT teams are really good at what they do. As an organisation, you need to decide, my IT guy, how busy is he? Can he really be entrusted wholly with the security of the business?
Yeah.
Because if disaster strikes, your ability to respond really matters.
Yeah.
And if your IT team is out doing some other job or they're running behind on their workload,
Yeah.
you're not really doing yourself any good. So having someone whose sole responsibility it is to make sure that your data is secure can't be overstated.
Yeah, and I guess if it's also a cybersecurity breach as well, like your IT team might just simply not be equipped for that as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. IT and cybersecurity operate with quite different objectives. So IT is focused on data availability, where cybersecurity officials focus on the confidentiality and integrity of that data.
Cool.
As well as the availability.
Yeah.
IT, needs to keep the system up so they can move on to the next problem. Whereas cybersecurity people need to focus on making sure that the data that is available is actually the data that needs to be available.
So you really need both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we can shred that one.
Yeah.
They can't handle any crisis.
Yeah.
Just most. Okay. Cloud services guarantee uptime.
Nope.
Okay.
Just like any other server, PC, you name it. Cloud services go offline because the cloud is just a fancy way of saying someone else's computer.
Yeah, I was about to say something.
At the end of the day, you know, you may be doing business with a big conglomerate,
Yeah.
but those big conglomerates still need to maintain their systems. So cloud services do not guarantee uptime. Even the likes of Microsoft do go offline from time to time.
Yeah.
You can be talking about an individual service, you can be talking about a whole suite of services. Technically, mobile services are also cloud services because they are facilitated by someone else's computer.
Yeah.
So look at Optus.
Yeah.
Optus.
Are we even allowed to say that name around here anymore?
No,
No,
it's banned.
I have to put the cow sensor over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops.
Whoops.
Cloud services do not guarantee uptime. You really need to have business continuity mechanisms for when they go offline. And what CyberGuys does, as I said before, is not only does it make your network more secure, but I try to make your services a little more robust so that you can operate while the service or the internet is down.
Yeah.
So that one's for the bull.
Definitely for the bull, this one.
Yeah.
So, second last one today is we can use personal devices if the network goes down.
Please don't do that. Please do not do that.
Okay.
Small businesses really need to get away from allowing employees to use personal devices for company purposes. Now, the reason for that is company information needs to stay secure. So back in the old days, company information was essentially restricted to the business server. Now it's in the cloud, so it's always available. If you download that company information onto a personal device, who knows where that goes? So you need to maintain some level of data governance in the absence of complete control. And by allowing employees to download data to their personal devices, you may be fine. But if you've got that one employee that's got a little bit of a grudge against you, you're in big trouble.
What about for hotspotting though? So say you work in a small retail shop and your internet goes out. How do you feel about hotspotting the device to your phone?
So it's not the worst idea in the world.
Yeah.
Hotspotting is generally fine.
Yeah.
But the business should have internet backup regardless.
Yeah.
Because the NBN does go down.
Yeah, definitely goes
And
down.
it shouldn't. You shouldn't rely on your employee's mobile device for you to keep trading.
Yeah.
That's your responsibility as the boss.
Yeah.
Not your staff members. So rather than relying on the goodwill of your staff, fork out a couple of hundred and put some redundancy in place.
But from a security perspective, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Cool. Okay. Right. Well, we'll show that one.
Yeah. Hasn't been fed in a week.
And finally, we have an internet outage will only affect our online operations.
What operation is not online nowadays? You tell me, Taylor.
Yeah, I suppose most of our phone calls are even taken online, and our meetings are online, and
All of our phone calls are online.
Yeah.
An internet outage affects every part of a business, from orders to logistics to phone calls to emails to your website. An internet outage will seize your business completely.
Yeah.
Just seize it up. You won't have a business without the internet. So, short and sweet this one.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Into the bull.
Into the bull.
All right. So to finish things off today, I have a couple of questions for you. I'd love you to answer.
Sure.
All right. What is a disaster recovery plan, and how does a business implement one?
A disaster recovery plan is different from a business continuity plan.
Okay.
For one.
Yeah.
So a disaster recovery plan states, okay, you've had this disaster. How do we get back to a sense of normality?
Okay.
The thing that comes to mind most was the most recent floods in Brisbane. I was on the ground with a lot of manufacturing businesses who completely went under.
Yeah.
they didn't have a disaster recovery plan, so we had to think on the spot. So there was a massive rush to procure hardware.
Yeah.
It was an absolute nightmare. So a disaster recovery plan is a codified document that shows the business how to recover from a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to think of multiple parts. So you need to think of natural disasters,
Mm-hmm.
so flood, fire. You need to think of human-made disasters, so that could be cyber attack, that could be device theft,
Mm-hmm.
you name it,
Mm-hmm.
really. So essentially, what you need to do is think of the most likely disasters that will happen to your business,
Mm-hmm.
and put down some steps that you will take as a business to recover from that.
Okay.
So we can help with that.
Is that something that should be tested, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how often should they be tested?
Once a year.
Okay.
Like, you don't need to go overboard
Yeah.
with this stuff. You just need to make sure that if disaster does strike, you can get back to operations in a few hours rather than days, weeks, months that a lot of businesses were left facing
Sure.
after a natural disaster.
All right. Next up, we have how often should businesses be backing up their files?
Every night.
Every night.
Every single night. Whenever I'm asked about backups, how frequently should we be doing backups, I always put it back on them. How much work are you prepared to lose?
Yeah.
So say in your business, for instance, you suffered a ransomware attack and you only back up once a week.
Yeah.
How difficult would it be for you to do last week's work, this week's work, and then try and fit in next week as well?
Yeah, I mean, even if I lost a day or two, that would just be so, just put me back so far.
That's right.
Yeah.
You need to back up every night in multiple locations. So we'll go back to the 3-2-1
Yeah.
rule. Have a local copy of your data, have a cloud copy of your data, back up that local copy and take it home with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's old school,
Yeah.
but it works.
Yeah. Okay. From, I guess, either an IT or a cybersecurity preference, which do you prefer? Cloud storage or physical external drives?
Both have their place.
Yeah.
I don't particularly have a preference
Yeah.
of types of storage.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the benefits of local storage, for instance, is that data is there, it's available, and it's a lot faster to access.
Yeah.
So that would suit firms like engineering, media companies, those sort of things. So you need to have local storage in that sense. Cloud storage is good for administration-based businesses
Sure.
as well, because it facilitates work from home.
Yeah.
A lot simpler than if everything was stored on site.
Yeah.
My one caveat to what I've just said is that with cloud storage, do not put ultra sensitive information in the cloud where it can be avoided.
Okay.
There is a concept called privilege escalation that really scares me
Okay.
with companies, where if someone gets in, the first thing they'll do is try to get to the privileges of the business owner or the systems administrator. And that gives them access to absolutely everything. So if you have ultra sensitive information like identity documents, if you're a public company, you have tender documents,
Mm-hmm.
Pre-IPO, corporate governance, board meetings, financial statements,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that may be, try to avoid putting them on the cloud because they are more available.
Yeah.
Then.
That makes sense.
So I always preference a hybrid approach no matter the size of the organisation.
This one is more about loss prevention, but you and your business and cyber guys, do you offer any sort of training around data loss prevention, I guess?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Data loss prevention is the core of what I teach.
Okay.
So when we talk about data loss prevention, we're not talking about your employee might nick your data and go off.
Sure.
Data loss prevention is about ensuring that if the worst does happen, your data will most likely be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a constant proactive process. It's not just a set and forget. as part of a comprehensive cybersecurity platform, you need to include your team in that. So weeding out bad behaviours within an organisation, because as I keep saying, 90% of the problem with cybersecurity is people.
Yeah.
And trying to out-technology stupid is really difficult.
Yeah.
So having data loss prevention policies in place is absolutely critical. And it forms the core of my training, but also my technical services as well. And IT is also very heavily involved in that process as well.
Through TerraNet?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You kind of just covered it all, really.
I know.
You're a one-stop shop for cyber, IT, everything.
I try.
Good. And then, final question is kind of, if someone is in this scenario where they have, facing some form of business downtime due to, it could be cyber attack, it could be fire, it could be flood, it could be, their computers just stopped working. What would you tell them to do first?
The first thing I would tell them to do is call someone qualified.
Okay.
The last thing you want to do is try and do something yourself on the cheap.
Sure.
And have it completely fail on you, because time is of the essence when you're dealing with disaster in all forms, not just in cyber forms. So if you have an impending problem, call someone qualified to deal with it.
Yeah. Don't panic.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
And call someone.
Amazing.
It'll cost you some money.
Yeah.
But it'll cost you a hell of a lot less of money if you don't have a business.
Yeah, of course.
Because you tried to save a few hundred.
Yeah. Well, amazing. Thank you for that. It was good. I like that one.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone for joining us. I'm Taylor, and as per usual, I'm joined by Brandon, and we're full of Brill. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.